they've learnt a lot about what to do from you, actually. So they've been copying some of your ideas. So and that's what I do, really. I'm a professor, so I'm in a university in Spain and a university in England. Next question.
Have you been to Maritime House, and what is it like there?
Well, yeah. Gosh, if I'd been there. I was there right at the beginning when we were trying to persuade the government to let us have it, because obviously it's a much bigger space than we're supposed to have. So you'll have twice as much space as students to probably anybody else in the country. Actually, you've got a school that's twice as big as it's supposed to be. So I was there right at the beginning, and it was pretty good then. And I've been back and forth, watched it changing, and honestly, it's the best thing you've ever seen. I think it's going to be the best school in the Northern Hemisphere, best school in the top half of the world. It's going to be just brilliant. It's very, very big, and there's lots of space, and there are lots of little places you can work, and the light is wonderful. It's all bright and lovely. Imagine a giant Osprey Quay. It's a bit like that, really. It's fabulous.
Fab.
Wow.
Yes.
It is wow.
So, do you know how big the halls are? Is there like halls that are really big?
So,
Yeah, the spaces are really, really big. I mean, they're whopping, because, remember, this was built to train people in the Navy. That was what it was built for originally. And also, by the way, the building's really strong. It's made out of great big steel girders, and then they sort of fill in all the space. So it was very easy for us to take walls out and put walls in. We could really make it a bit like playing with Lego. You could make it anything you wanted it to be, really. So we really did have a chance to all sit down and actually work with some students at the time and say, what do we want this to be like? And something you probably don't know, but the whole world is watching that school. I think there must be, when I was out in Australia, the school out there in Parramatta, which is near Sydney Harbour, they're building a new school, and one of the things we sent them was a video from your school to say, hey, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing our planning. So they're watching what you're doing all around the world. They're watching what you're doing in South America, in North America, in China. They're watching what I was in Dubai a month ago. They're watching what you're doing. The whole world is watching you, and they can't wait to see how good your school's going to be. So that's how exciting it is. Best school in England. It will be fabulous.
we got another one just here. Oh, got you there.
What ingredients did you use for the school?
So what ingredients make a good school, Stephen?
Oh, that's a really good question, because I always think making a good school is a bit like cooking. All the ingredients have been tested somewhere, and we've got to stir them together to make a local special Portland recipe. And the ingredients are pretty interesting. I mean, some of them, because we're going to have schools, separate schools within schools. Mrs. Backman's going to be a head of school, one of the 3 schools. So you'll never be in a really, really big school. You'll always know everybody in your school, if you see what I mean, and big spaces, so we can have teachers working together. It's very hard sometimes as a teacher when you only work on your own. You never get to see other people teach. So it's good to work as teams. So that's another ingredient. And interesting furniture. We're not going to have you all sitting in desks. The desks are all laid out like a graveyard. You'll be able to sit in a special place when you're reading, and sit in a special place when you're walking together, and sit in a special place when you're working with others. So it's a jolly complicated little recipe, really, but we've got a lot of ingredients, and we've borrowed them from all around the world. People have tried them, so it's good. It's really good. I'm very excited.
Excellent. Who else has got a question for Stephen?
It's
Yes.
going to be a very tasty recipe.
At the back.
Do you have any kids?
Oh, do you have any children, Stephen? Or
I
grandchildren?
do. I
Mrs. Heppell.
have 2 daughters and a son, and one of my daughters teaches in your school, Miss Heppell, and one of my other daughter teaches at a school in London, where her children have also been part of a big project to make their classrooms better. And I have a son as well, and I also have 4 grandchildren. 2 of them go to your school too, so you might know Emily Hiscox and Louis. They all go to the school as well, so yeah, I've got a big interest. So this jolly well better be the best school in the world, because my grandchildren are going to it.
Excellent. Who's got another question for Stephen? Yes, at the back.
She's bald.
Nice loud voice. Yes.
Let me just say, the person in the orange shirt who's had a hand up every time you've asked for a question. She's going to have the next question, I think.
Yeah, go on then.
How big is Maritime House going to be?
I think it's on a scale of small to medium to big. It's whopping. I mean, it's really, the spaces are very big. You've got the ceilings are high. You've got a lot of space. You know, if you stood on a piece of land and said, this is how much space you normally get in a school, you're going to have more than twice that amount of space. So your school will be bigger. But because we've divided it up into schools, the bit you're in won't be, you know, sometimes I think if you go to a really big school, and I've taught in a few really big schools. I was in one the other day in China with 3,500 children. It was only a primary school, so it was huge. And you get a bit lost in those really big schools. You know, nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows what your dog's name is. You know, nobody knows even what your name is. So we've divided it up into schools within schools. So although you've got a lot of space, you haven't got like thousands of people all running around. You'll know everybody you see on a daily basis. That's really nice. It's also good for your learning. But it is big space.
What technology do you use?
Well, what tech do I use? I use absolutely. I'm everything. I'm crazy about technology. Yesterday I was doing 3D printing. I've got my jacket hanging next door. Got a little Arduino bean in the pocket, so I like to program. I use. We're talking at the moment on an iPhone 6 Plus. I have a Macintosh PowerBook. I have a server which is, I think, made by Hewlett Packard. I've got a lot of technology. I love technology, and just like you do. And again, one of the special things really about iPacker is the way everybody uses technology. We've had a lot of visits from all around the world. People are saying, wow, what you do with your Chromebooks and your own devices, particularly your phones, really important. Just in passing, I'm just starting a project in the refugee camps out in Jordan, where the poor children in Syria, you know, they're just like you. And then people started dropping bombs on their schools, so they all had to run away. And now they're living in camps, haven't got a school at all. So we're going to build some learning for them, and we're doing all that with phones. So probably little phones in your pocket, probably more important than anything else, really. They've all got phones, and they've all got good connection. They just haven't got mums and dads and houses anymore. It's very sad.
Stephen, I'm afraid we've run out of time, but have we got something we'd like to say to Stephen for joining us this morning?
Thank you!
As it's been lovely to talk, and I'm sorry it was a bit slow starting. Give us a big wave. Bye, you.
Bye!
Tell the person next to you one thing that Stephen told you.
The